Because obviously Mary Magdalene was an icon in many of these medieval churches and cathedrals. So did they have inner teachings about it? Possibly discuss. And then I'm going to pause here, because then I come to the question of the church at Rennes-le-Château and all the legends associated with that. And many people say that Jesus and Mary Magdalene actually made it to that part of Provence. They fled from Palestine. The crucifixion wasn't fatal, he recovered and came in body with Mary Magdalene. And people are publishing, that they found evidence that they lived there. I suspend judgment on that. I'm willing to look at it. There are many people writing books and finding sacred sites there. If it can be proved in some way, and we can discuss even what we mean by proof, I'm open to transpersonal evidence, as long as it can be backed from multi-sources. What I have trouble with is one person channeling, this is where Mary Magdalene, they lived in this cave. If that's the only proof, then I'm going to be sceptical. But if 10 people are doing that independently, and we're finding archaeological remains that seem to back that up, and we found some old text that seems to indicate it, if we get it multi-sourced, then I think we're into scientific evidence. That area is mysterious, however, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it tonight. We've got another speaker talking about it. Right, so those are the first 36. 37 is very important, comparative diabology. This new field of studies of the devil, which I've inaugurated at a conference in Oxford recently. Because if the devil is a factor behind people's belief systems, and if they're coming into conflict because of it, we have to understand each other's views on the devil. And if you study, and nobody's done this, people have written histories of the devil, but from a mono perspective. What I'm proposing is a comparative diabology. So we look at the devil in Zoroastrianism. It has its history, and even within Zoroastrianism there are different traditions, right? Ahriman, Angra Mainyu. Why does Ahura Mazda create this being? The tester. Then we've got the devil in Manichaeanism, which is a whole other story. The devil in Christianity, because did Christ and Mary Magdalene believe in a devil? That they were literally engaged in battling. We've got the tradition of 7 demons coming out of Mary Magdalene. What does that mean? We need to study that. And what's interesting, of course, then we got the devil in Buddhism as Mara, who's the one that tries to take you away from the Enlightenment quest. The devil in Hinduism. But the devil in Hellenistic paganism didn't really exist. There isn't a devil figure. It was a Zoroastrian concept, I think. And I think that Mary Magdalene and Jesus must have known that it was a deeper work they were doing. But anyway, discuss. Certainly the Cathars, some of them, seem to believe the whole world is created by the devil. This is what I call the false Gnostic teaching. And that, but I think that's just an exoteric blinder to put people off, but anyway, in Gnosticism the devil plays a role. But so what is it? Let's winkle it out and let's educate it. And then of course we've got modern kind of space theories about early aliens terrorizing humanity, as in the Book of Enoch. So that's another part of comparative diabology. It needs to be studied. Then we've got this question of the fourth gospel of John, which some writers now argue was actually Mary Magdalene's gospel. And it's her oral testimony that she gave to John, and that it should be called Mary Magdalene's gospel. Well, there's possibly some evidence in that. I've discovered recently in my bibliography, Mary Magdalene and John seem to have met after the resurrection in about 45 AD. There's evidence they met in Turkey and discussed how to, establish a sort of modus vivendi, which would mean she couldn't be in Provence at that time, because she's in Turkey, meeting St. John. And he wrote this book called the Psalms of Solomon, which purport to be the dialogue of Mary Magdalene and Jesus on the morning of the resurrection. It's kind of love poems, which some scholars have reinterpreted as this love song. We've known about the Psalms of Solomon for a long time. Charlesworth's got them in his book. But this guy's come along, and I've referenced him, and he reinterpreted them as written by John about Jesus and Mary Magdalene. So there's some mysteries about St. John and he seems to have inner knowledge, and I think it's probable that Mary Magdalene and John were friends and that's what got into the gospel there. Some of the inner stories and things. Okay, so there's so much more. I mean, I've got, as I said, 66 categories. We've covered 39. Are there any questions? Let's have a little pause, and then I might do a few more before I finish. Let me just stop there for now. Any questions you